So thank you. I'll start with just a real quick welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Chad Burke. I have the honor of being the president of the Economic Alliance Houston Port Region. We want to welcome you here today. This is one of my favorite events. We do this 3 times a year, and you can see how popular it is by the attendance in the crowd and the fellowship and everything that's going on. So thank you all for being here. I'm glancing around. Okay, I've got Alicia ready. Good. Again, thank you very much for coming. I think you're in for a real treat today with our panel discussion and all the good things that are going on in our highlighted charity. I'm really excited about it. So on behalf of the Economic Alliance and our women's leadership group, which I'll introduce Wendy in a minute, welcome to today's luncheon and enjoy. First, I want to bring up to the mic Dr. Alicia Harris. She is with San Jacinto College, our host. She also happens to be the chair of our Workforce Development Committee. So I will turn it over to Alicia.
And we're always looking for people who want to participate with the Workforce Development Committee of the Economic Alliance. So if you're interested, see me or Patty Bell and we will connect you. Welcome. Good morning. We're so glad to have you here. I'm Alicia Harris, Vice Chancellor of Strategic Initiatives here at San Jacinto College. On behalf of our Chancellor, Dr. Brenda Hellier, and our Board of Trustees, we have one of our trustees with us. Let me welcome you to the Lyondell-Bazell Center for Petrochemical Energy and Technology. For how many of you is it your first time to this facility? Awesome, a wonderful number. This is an amazing facility built for industry, by industry, and it serves our students and our industries so well. It's a phenomenal building with amazing labs. Jim Griffin is down here on my right. He can answer any questions you have about the labs, but it's welcome. We're happy to host you here. Before I hand this back to Chad, let me tell you just for a moment a little about San Jacinto College. If you don't know us, we've served this community for about 62 years. We recently were named again an Aspen finalist as one of the top 10 colleges out of 1,100 colleges in the United States. 8 years in a row, we've been named in the top 10 colleges. We are able to achieve this recognition because of our partnerships with groups like the Economic Alliance, with the business and industry in our community, with the school districts in our community, with the citizens in our community, and with our students. Our employees do a great job, but it's a huge honor. We're proud of it, and all of you are a part of it. We recently had our graduation. That, for us, spring graduation is a highlight. We had almost 1,500 students walk at graduation. We had 2,500 who earned degrees or certificates this semester. We're proud of our students and the hard work they put in to achieve those goals. So one other thing I want to mention to all of you, and that is one of the things San Jacinto College has done recently, and that is found the Promise at San Jac Scholarship. Any student who graduates from high school and lives in this taxing district at the time they graduate is eligible for the scholarship. The scholarship allows them to attend school full-time for up to 3 years or until they complete a degree or certificate. What this does for our community is allows students to complete the first 2 years that either send them into the workforce or the first 2 years that prepare them for transfer with absolutely no debt. We're proud of the scholarship. This year, more than 5,000 students have taken the first 2 preliminary steps. All they have to do now is register, and I think we've had about 2,000 register at this point. It's wonderful to be a part of this community. It's also wonderful to be hosting this luncheon, and Chad, I'll say no more. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Alicia. We a longtime partner with San Jacinto College, and on multiple different levels. The Economic Alliance is here to grow the regional economy, and the workforce development that San Jacinto College does is really paramount in that effort. So much so that we hired our intern, Camilla, this year. She graduated from San Jacinto College about a month ago, and then a week after that, she graduated from high school. So she's pretty sharp. So. Anyway, let me turn it over to the lady in charge today. Our chairman of our Women's Leadership Committee is Wendy Gormley. So, Wendy.
Thank you again and welcome. I'm vertically challenged. Just give me a minute here. Thank you for coming, everybody. I know that we have a lot of new faces. We're running a little bit behind time, so I'm going to keep my comments to a minimum and just kind of address some hot topics. First and foremost, if you're on a diet, don't go near the 2 dessert bars at the front of the room. I ate 7 macaroons last time. I don't advise getting near them. But for those of you not on a diet, please help yourself. Those are some of our favorite tables, and a lot of folks forgot about them last time around, so I wanted to let you know they're there. We do have a highlighted charity at every luncheon, and the Kinder Scott pop-up shop over here donates a percentage of their proceeds to that charity. So we do encourage everyone to go visit the booth today. We have our own signature necklace now. So it is the hot pink Kinder Scott necklace on the left side of the booth, and again, 20% of the proceeds go to our highlighted charity, and if you don't have time to stop in today, we are going to keep the sale open for a few days after the event so that the charity can continue receiving proceeds from that, and you have an opportunity to buy our signature piece. Wanted to thank our sponsors and our booth exhibitors today. You guys don't know how much work it takes to get a booth together and come out here and hope that they have the opportunity to talk to you about their business. They do offset some of the costs of this event for us, so we do encourage you to stop in, say hello, be courteous, thank them for being a booth sponsor, and visit with them. Every event, I encourage everyone to leave with 3 takeaways. Now, to me, the easiest 3 takeaways is to get 3 business cards from people you don't know. I recently spent 4 days in Corpus Christi and meetings that happened because I randomly met an individual 6 months ago that introduced me to 2 other people that introduced me to 2 other people. And you never know, one of those business cards that you go home with today could result in great meetings 6 months down the road. And this is a platform for you to do that. We have created this so that you can network and promote other women in the Port of Houston industry and in our direct economic market area. So a wise woman and a mentor of mine told me a long time ago, you are your best solution. Make the best of this luncheon. Meet people, network, and if you feel like you don't need to meet people or network, be that olive branch that might be a resource to somebody younger than you trying to move up the ranks in their career. Speaking of actual sponsors, I'd like to just thank them. We have Harris County sitting right here in front of us, San Jacinto College for providing this wonderful facility. We have Whitmore Munoz. The gift sponsor is HGA Houston Healthcare. Eli Valet courteously does this free for us every event we have. Please consider them for your next event. They're such a wonderful gift so that we do not have to walk in the heat. And Bayside Printing Company has printed the programs that are sitting at each of your tables. And by the way, that program is a tool. Take that home with you. It's got our committee members listed in there and our sponsors. And by the way, the committee is here for you as well. If any of you have any interest in belonging to this group, trying to figure out how you can plug in and network further, that program's got a list of us in there so that you can reach out and contact us. Let's see, moving along, we do have a charity that we are featuring, as mentioned before, the Kinder Scott Pop-Up Shop. I'm going to introduce Amanda Boyd. She is the executive director with our own Sanctuary Foster Care Services. She's got a tremendous story and mission, and I'd love to have her say a few words about her organization.
I'm going to go ahead and take this off and come over here. So I'm a bit of a pacer whenever I talk. So I just want to thank you guys so much for the Alliance for allowing me to come here today and to talk a little bit about the Sanctuary Foster Care Services. But honestly, I really can't talk about the Sanctuary without first telling you about my own personal story and why the Sanctuary is so important to me. So I'll just start with where it all began. So here is myself and my husband, and I'm going to go ahead and have my husband stand up and do the princess wave really quick so everybody knows that he's here to support me. And so I first met him in 2006, and adoption was something that was always in my heart since I was a little girl. I always knew that I was going to adopt, had no clue or idea I was going to be doing this, but I did know I was going to adopt. And so like many of you women that are in this room, I'm not a woman who messes around, and so I don't play around. So every date that I went on the second date, I would ask the guy I was with, hey, so are you open to adoption? And so if they said yes, that they were, then I was like, all right, well, we can continue dating. But if they said no, then I was like, no, I'm done. We're moving on. And so my husband, little did he have any idea that this was a baited question. I said, are you open to adoption? And he said, yeah. He said, I was listening to a Christian radio station and they were talking about adoption. And I was like, yeah, I think I might want to do that one day. Now he says if he could go back, he would have clarified exactly how many kids I was talking about whenever I said adoption. So, but we'll get to that, the rest of the story. You'll see a whole picture of my family here pretty soon, and you'll get to see exactly how many kiddos we actually adopted. So in 2006, Nick and I got married, and he had been married previously, so that's my bonus kiddo up there. He was 5, and then we ended up having our own biological kiddo, Camden, who in that picture is 2. And so when they were 2 and 5, we decided to go ahead and start our fostering journey. So we called an agency and asked them, what do we do to start our classes and all of those kind of things. And, we were sitting in the classes. I was a teacher, and I loved behavior kids. That's what I did. I had behavior kids in my classroom. I enjoyed them. They were my favorite kids. My husband was an assistant principal. That's what he did. He dealt with behavior kids all the time. And so we're sitting in the classes, and they're talking about trauma and behavior, and we're like, oh, we got this. We got this. We know what we're doing. We're not going to have any issues. And I'll just tell you, we didn't have it. We didn't have it at all. And so in 2010, we moved Tyler, Hannah, and Chance into our home. And so we went from 2 kids to 5 overnight in a little 1,400 square foot house with vaulted ceilings and tile floors. And how many of y'all have ever heard that the foster care system is broken? Let me see a raise of hands. Yeah, pretty much everybody in the room, right? But I knew it too, but I had no idea exactly how broken it was until I moved those 3 kiddos into my home, and I found out that we were their 3rd foster placement in 5 months. And then my daughter up there, I looked and she had eczema on her hands and feet that were nearly purple. And so I asked her, I said, sweetheart, why didn't you go to the doctor? And she was like, I don't know. Y'all, it was free for the previous foster parents to have taken her to the doctor, and they didn't. My son's glasses were broken, had been broken for over a month. And when I tell you this kid needs glasses, he needs glasses, like really bad. And then as we got to know them more, y'all, they got nothing for their birthdays. 2 out of the 3 had just had birthdays. Not a cake, not a present, nothing to celebrate their birthdays. And y'all, I got angry. I was like, how can this happen? How can children come from homes where they're abused and neglected and then be placed in foster homes where they're further abused and neglected? It's not okay. And then the Lord, how he often does, he was like, all right, Amanda, I see you're angry. Now what are you going to do about it? And y'all, I didn't tell my husband that part for a long time, just so you know. I kind of left that out. But, I started praying, Lord, what do you want me to do about it? And so when you get into this, you think that you are going to foster and adopt to change a child's life. But really what ends up happening is they change yours so much more. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that story. So here's Hannah, the precious 11-year-old that we had at the time. And to say that her behaviors were challenging would be an understatement. okay? She was super, she just had rage. She didn't know how to feel sadness. All she felt was anger because she had learned that that world is a really cruel place and that adults can't be trusted and that the ones that do come and try to interact with you, it's just because they want to use you, not because that they really care about you. And so I was that main recipient because it was her mom that had done a lot of the trauma with her. So I was that main recipient. She had told me many times that she wanted to kill me. She wanted to stab me one time. She called me more names than I could even count, cuss word names. She told me that she wished I was dead. Hard stuff, and here I am. You know, I'm pouring my life out for this kiddo and loving her in every way that I can. And what am I getting back? I'm getting anger. I'm getting resentment. I'm getting anything but love. And so, you know, I got to the place where I was like, I want out. This isn't what I signed up for. I want to do this. This isn't fair. This isn't right. And you know, the Lord, how he does, like he did before, he came and he said, hey, you know, Amanda, it says in the Bible to take up your cross and follow me. Cross wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. I wasn't hanging there having a joyous time. It was hard. So consider yourself lucky because now you can see a little bit of what it was like to suffer the way that I suffered. And I was like, all right. And then, you know, I learned a lot about unconditional love. How many of y'all love people that love you? Everybody? Right. We're all pretty good at that, aren't we? But to love someone who is not just ignoring you, but hating you? When you're doing everything you can to help them? Y'all, that's hard stuff. That's not easy to do. But the Lord, he was really good again, and he said, you know what? Trust me, I'm enough. I'll give you what you need to make it through this. I am enough. So I said, all right, God, I'll trust you minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, to sustain me and believe that I can stay in this battle and I can make it. So here's my family. You can see we adopted many more kids. In fact, we adopted 6 kids out of foster care. And as Hannah grew, and there she is up there now, as she grew, she started to heal. Her heart started to soften, and she realized that we actually did love her and we weren't going to leave her. And my faith grew too, of saying, you know what, I can do hard things. I can do really, really hard things, and I can stick through it. And so then along the way, the Lord taught me all different experiences with all 6 of my children of different areas that the system was broken. So when I created my own organization with others, that then we could go ahead and we could hit those different areas to make sure we were a safety net for all kids. And that's where the sanctuary was born, is because when I was going through the process, we didn't get the support that we needed as foster parents. We didn't. And so I remember one time, my husband and I, man, we were done. It was so hard every single day. And that weekend, we just needed a break for the weekend. And I called my agency and I said, hey, I need her to go somewhere just for the weekend. I'll take her back, but I need her to go somewhere just for the weekend. And they're like, it'll be 3 weeks before we can find you any kind of break. Because just not anybody can watch the kiddos. And that's when kids get hurt. And so what I learned is that parents need that heavy support so that they can withstand the battle with the kiddos every single day so that these kids don't move. Because, you see, the average foster child moves 7 times while in care. 7 new sets of parents, 7 new schools, 7 times having to make new friends, and 7 times that rug of life is ripped out from underneath them that they don't know where they're going to go next. Imagine what that would be like. And what happens to these kids that are moved so often is they learn that they don't want to attach to anyone because it hurts. I get close to you and then you leave me and it hurts. And so they become part of the addicted, homeless, prison, and sex-trafficked population. And so the community, guys, what we have to do is we have to wrap around these parents that are taking care of these kids. We have to do better because our future depends on that. Because one of 2 things are going to happen. Either you're going to invest in foster care or you're going to invest later on when they're the addicted, homeless, prison, and trafficked population. So which way is a better place to put your time and your energy and your money? And so we have a saying at the sanctuary that says, not everyone can foster or adopt, but everyone can do something. And these are just a few of the different ways that you can come alongside beside foster parents and help them so that they are willing to stay in the battle. All right, so I'm getting ready to show you a video. And this video was actually created in 2020. It was created, and I knew nothing about it. The first time I saw it was on Facebook. And so you can see here in a minute, and you can imagine what I was like after this video.
Hi, my name's Hannah. I'm 20 years old and I was a foster kid. When I was younger, my birth dad got mixed up with drugs and went to jail. My mom was really young and didn't know how to take care of me and my brothers. She would often stay with her abusive boyfriends. A lot of times we were trapped in our rooms and wouldn't get fed. There were many days we would get one serving of ramen noodles for the whole day. We didn't have a washer and dryer and never had clean clothes. It was super bad. Needless to say, we ended up in foster care because of the abuse and the neglect. I remember when we first went into foster care, we didn't know what was going on. We just got in a car with some random lady who picked us up from school and took us to some random person's house. I got placed in a home with one of my brothers, while the other brother went to a separate home. My first foster mom told me, "I'm not your mom, I'm not your friend, I'm just here to put a roof over your head and get a paycheck." There aren't words to describe what that feels like or what that does to a kid. However, there's something else that I remember much more than that. I remember the first day of moving in with my mom and dad. My former foster parents just told us all the rules on the first day. With my mom, she took us shopping for clothes because none of our clothes fit, and she took us swimming at the YMCA. From the very beginning, it seemed like they really wanted us there. It was just different. Being a foster kid, when you start getting comfortable is when you start testing. You want to see how much you can get away with before they push you away. The thing is, my parents never did. No matter how bad I was or how much I pushed, they never gave up on me. I was so angry at my past, at my situation. I was overcome with anger. Yet they just kept on caring and they kept on loving. I eventually realized that I don't want to be angry anymore because it's just so tiring. The biggest thing for me was that they never stopped loving and caring, and it made me understand that I don't have to fight anymore. If you're a foster parent, you need to know that these kids are seriously hurting. It's not you. They're carrying so much more than they should ever have to. The best thing to do is just to be there for them, to love them, and to show them that. I know that firsthand. I also know firsthand the value and impact that the sanctuary brings. The executive director is my mom. My name is Hannah Boyd, and I'm the daughter of Amanda and Nick Boyd. I hope you'll consider giving generously to the sanctuary so more foster kids can experience the kind of love and care that I have.
Y'all, you can imagine when I first saw that, I just bawled. Because here we'd had so many hard times with her, and here that she was being that way. And so she's going to come up a second. This is my daughter, Hannah. And she's worked very, very, very hard to get where she is today. And I'm super, super proud of her.
Well, like my video, I guess, I didn't know that she would be using it this often. So, like the ending said, we do rely on donations from the community, and we have left you guys a little chapstick, and at the bottom it has a QR code. So I really hope you guys will consider scanning that QR code and donating to the sanctuary.
Thank you guys so much.
And Christy Claypool is going to be coming up for the prayer.
Awesome. If we could just bow in prayer, please. So, Father, we just thank you so much for the opportunity to come together as Women in Alliance. We thank you for each person represented here today, Father, that you help us to just bring our best in the areas and the departments that we serve. Father, we pray for this luncheon, that from audio to cleanup and everything in between, Father, that the abundant blessings would just flow. We ask, Father, for your blessing over the Economic Alliance and over San Jacinto College for giving us the platform to do this. Father, for everyone that's going to speak today on this stage, we pray over them as they share their hearts and their journey and story. We ask that we would have open hearts, Father, to receive together as we all learn and grow together. We pray for this food, we pray for our connections, and we just thank you for this day. It's in Jesus' name we pray together. Amen.
And now I'm going to ask Melinda Torrison with Meador Staffing to come up. She is our past chair of the Women's Leadership Committee, and she was graciously voluntold she was going to help us out today.
So you know how that goes when you get voluntold. It's like, yes, I will definitely do that. So so glad to have each one of you here. I know you have already been welcome, but there's so many people across the room that I've had opportunity to chat with, and so many new people that have taken opportunity to come and join us. And of course, this is my passion. I never knew, when Chad and Maricela called and said, hey, do you want to get involved with this Women in Alliance, what it was going to look like? But as I always say, it's truly been one of my greatest rewards and just very humbling to be able to be on the stage with this amazing group of women. So I think you're going to be in for a treat today. And so if y'all are ready, I'm going to ask our amazing panelists to go ahead and come on stage, and we're going to start our conversation. And as I always say when moderating a panel, just think of yourselves as if we're just in the living room or sitting around the kitchen table having a conversation. And so that's what we're going to be doing today, is just having a conversation. And again, I know each one of these ladies have such an inspiring story, and that's really why we're here at Women in Alliance, is to inspire, to build up, to encourage, and to celebrate each one of you. So maybe one day, one of you will be sitting up here on the panel presentation. Joe said, yeah, thank you so much, Joe. Oh, there you are. I have to give a special shout out to the people who have really become some of our best friends here at San Jacinto College. That's Joe, who is king of the playlist. Oh my gosh. Joe, you need to send me all your playlists that you do. You're just so exceptional. Bo and Chris as well. So thank you for all that you do just behind the scenes to make these events just incredibly just fabulous. So what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and I'm going to have y'all just introduce yourselves. So Brittany, who are you? The organization that you're with, and then we'll just go down the line, and then we will start with our first question.
Thank you. Brittany Hebert-Franklin, thank you so much for having me today. I'm honored. I am the founder and CEO of Sky High for Kids. We raise money to fight pediatric cancer, which is the #1 cause of death by disease for our children in the United States. And I grew up in South Louisiana on a small crawfish farm, and now I'm in the big city of Houston.
Good afternoon. I'm Joy Horak-Brown, and I'm the president and CEO of New Hope Housing in Houston, Texas. I didn't found New Hope Housing. It was founded through seed money raised by the people of Christ Church Cathedral, the Episcopal Cathedral of the Diocese of Texas. Though we've never been formally affiliated with the church, we're very proud of those roots. I am, however, New Hope Housing's first employee. And we're now 125 strong, and we have offered housing plus services to more than 13,000 people in our 30-year history. And I'm going to go off script for a moment to talk about the sanctuary, because I want you to understand that some of the people that we have worked to house are children aging out of foster care. They are the most difficult citizens to house. And you just saw the reason why, because of the broken foster care system. So it's a part of a continuum, really. It's foster care to seeking permanent housing plus services by young people 18 years old who have little or no income. So be a part of that continuum, not only what we do, but what the sanctuary does.
Kirsten? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're good.
This is a great microphone check. I'm Kirsten Whittingham. I'm the Vice President of Revenue Operations at Axiom Space. We are building the replacement to the International Space Station, and we just flew our second mission, which had 2 government astronauts and a private astronaut. We have our 3rd mission later on this year.
Incredible. I told you I were going to be in for a treat. So each one of these ladies here have a really incredible story and so much to share. So, and thank you, Joy, for acknowledging the sanctuary. Really do appreciate that. So our first question that we're going to start with is, what is your favorite part of the role that you currently have within your organization? And maybe just elaborate a little bit about that. Because, of course, I don't know about y'all, but we don't like everything about our job 100%. So you're able to elaborate on what is your favorite role. So Brittany, let's start with you.
Sure. As CEO of the organization, obviously there are the days where you have to manage AR and cash flow, and strategic planning comes along the way. But my favorite part is working with the families that we serve each and every day. We are supporting Texas Children's Cancer Center, and we're currently in a $20 million commitment, which helped build the first immunotherapy center for children in the United States. That comes with a lot of heavy lifting and a ton of fundraising and a lot of management, as y'all all can imagine, including volunteers. To do this type of work, you have to have the burning passion, which comes from working directly with the families. So right now we're getting ready to celebrate Peyton Angel's end of 3-year treatment with lymphoma. She's in Katy, Texas. And so we have done everything from a girls' shopping day to pool parties. She'll be honored at our ladies' brunch this year with big confetti cannons. And so that's my favorite part of what I do. We get to directly connect with the families, the siblings, mom and dad, even the grandparents, and we're able to give some hope and joy in a very tough situation, and to understand the other side of it as well, which isn't as pleasant as you can imagine. Saturday we'll be attending an 11-year-old boy's funeral, Jaden, who just lost his battle to brain cancer. But what Sky High and our team was able to do in Jaden's life in the last few months was send him on his dream adventure, which was a South Texas hunting trip. We also brought him to our sporting clay tournament, and I'm proud to say that a couple of our volunteers, one by one, walked Jaden around to each station because he wasn't as mobile, and he got to shoot in the clay tournament. Well, he won the junior division. So he was awarded at our banquet the very next night. And so his parents and his sister have that memory, and we're able to provide that. And if that's where God wants us in that moment in time, as hard as it is for us to deal with the loss of a child, then that's our purpose.
Oh, that's so good. Joy?
So really my favorite part is somewhat linked to yours, though it has a bit of a different angle. My favorite part is to work with the staff. We've gone from one part-time person, I was part-time for the first couple of years, to 125 on staff. And what's important about that, and why I connect with it so at this point in my career, is the people who come through New Hope Housing, whether they're still with us or not, and we have employees who have been with us 20 years and more. The fact is that they are moving through the generations. They are teaching their children service. They are going to other organizations, taking what they learned at New Hope Housing, taking what they learned about our culture, and taking it somewhere else, and imbuing that culture with those values. So I think of this as something that it's like dropping a little stone in a pool, and that those ripples have an effect that I couldn't possibly imagine. So I enjoy investing in that ripple effect.
Oh, that's so good. So you can already tell, Joy, and definitely from Brittany's response as well, you're definitely women called and very gifted and very much about leaving a legacy. So that was just really awesome. Thank you, Joy. Kirsten?
So like you, I have a wonderful team, several of which are here today, sitting at one of the Axiom tables. So that's one of my favorite parts of the job. I just wanted to be able to call them out since they're here. But really my favorite part of the job is just being able to see and think of the ways that we can use space. I like to tell people that one of the coolest things I can think of with how we use space is to be able to manufacture prosthetic organs, things that you can't do here on Earth because gravity pulls those layers together and you can't manufacture them the same way you can in space. So there's the sky's the limit, kind of, for how you can use space, so to speak.
Kristen, watch out now. I'm going to have you put Sky High on your next space machine.
Well,
I think this is a perfect duo.
We might be able to arrange that. So yeah, just being able to think of all those ways that you can help people and use space to do that and be able to advance technology. And there's things that we can't even plan for today. I mean, 30 years ago, people wouldn't have thought that you can carry your phone in your pocket and have directions, but that comes from GPS, and that's a space-based technology. So who knows what's next?
Wow, that's so amazing. Really, yeah, and I agree with you. Ditto on the Sky High. Yes, and she can create, once they get into space and build all that stuff on a new planet, then she can partner with Joy and have New Hope Housing come and build some housing up there too. So
Love this.
We're all connected, you guys. It's all about connections and relationships. Synergy. Right, Jim? It's all about relationships and connections. So our next question, which I personally can't wait to hear your response on this one, is what is the biggest challenge or obstacle that you've encountered throughout your career? What was it, and how did you go about handling it? So, Brittany, if you want to start again.
So I started my career in oil and gas in 2007. I moved from Lafayette, Louisiana, and simultaneously built Sky High for Kids as a volunteer. So for 13 years, I had 2 full-time jobs. I just got paid by one. And I worked in a male-dominant industry, as many of you do. So I could go on and write an entire novel of the challenges that and the obstacles that I faced working in the oil and gas industry, especially in corporate sales as a female. But I have to tell you all that 2020, like many of you, was probably the most challenging time in my career at Sky High for Kids. I decided to leave my career in oil and gas and follow God's calling, and that was to run Sky High full time. And we are an event-based company. We host really big, really awesome, extremely impactful events with very low expenses. We're proud of that. And to do that, it takes an army. Well, it also takes all of us gathering like we are today, right? And as you know, we couldn't do that in 2020. And it happened so abruptly that we all looked at each other and said, okay, it's time to create the 4-week short-term plan of how we're going to get over this, right? We had just signed not one, but 2 $20 million commitments, one to St. Jude and one to Texas Children's. So we are a small team of 7 or 8 at the time with $40 million to fundraise, right? And we couldn't gather, and that's the way we did our job. I'll never forget the amount of sleepless nights, the tears, the meetings in my living room of my home with my team. The first one, we all had our mask on, and we didn't want to even touch the same coffee cup. And then by week 3, we said, to hell with this. Masks were off, we're sharing coffee, and we said, we have work to do. Kids are still being diagnosed with cancer every single day, and we need to figure out how to safely host and gather people, right? We had to. We had no choice. Or it was to close the doors, lay off all 7 of my employees, to turn what I would consider my back on all these families, 46 kids a day diagnosed. We couldn't do that. So we were facing the biggest obstacle, and people even on our board of directors telling me, Britt, it's been a great run. It's been 15 years. You did some amazing work no one else in the world can say they've ever done. It's time to close the doors. And instead, I decided to go against the grain and lead fearlessly. I led fearlessly. I went against the grain. And as hard as it was, it proves today. Now we're raising $8 million a year. We host events in 5 regions. And it's because we all decided that cancer is not canceled and Sky High would never stop. And we created a plan to safely host our events. There it is, 2020.
That's amazing. I'd probably say the same thing. Yeah. 2020 didn't have those challenges, but definitely an obstacle. And yeah, I think by like week 2, there were 7 of us who were still coming into the office, and it was like the best part of it was we got to wear yoga pants. You know, you had to look good from here up, but everything else was like, just come in as you are. So, and I just really appreciate your leading fearlessly. And I think that's what each one of you really represent is, and what we would probably communicate to each one of you is just don't quit. Just keep putting one step in front of the other. So I really appreciate what you shared. Joy, I'm sure you've had many obstacles and challenges, so to pick 1 or 2, what are you going to choose?
Well, I would pick one that has already been selected. I started out in the oil and gas industry myself, though I started out a good couple of decades before you did, and I doubt that it was any easier 20 years before you. So it certainly presented many challenges being in a male-dominated industry, but I think we're still in male-dominated business for the most part, and we should acknowledge that as women together. My ongoing challenge today is always money. That may not surprise you, but gathering the money, we build buildings, we construct buildings. They cost between $30 and $40 million each. Construction prices are up 36% since the pandemic. Some of our funding sources are down for varying reasons not in our control. Interest rates are up for borrowing money. So it's a real squeeze. The last time there was a squeeze like this was 2007, 2008. So we're in a very capital-intense business, and we need to build those buildings so that we can offer those services, so that we can house people who have an income somewhere between $0 and typically $10,000 a year. Many of our residents have experienced homelessness. Many of them have lived on the street for a year or more. That term is chronically homeless. We also have working families at the lower end of the workforce, but everyone is economically challenged and challenged in other ways. The root of that challenge may be economics. And so the money that we can gather to build those buildings, I'll give you an example. The Kinder Institute at Rice University does a study. They've done it every year for 39 years. And for the past long number of years, one of the questions they have asked is this: random telephone survey. If you had to come up with $400 for an emergency, could you? And 40% of randomly surveyed Houstonians say no. If you break that down racially, more than 70% of black Houstonians say no, I don't have $400. More than 50% of Hispanic Houstonians say no, I don't have $400. We have a problem. Imagine how you would feel if you didn't have $400 in the bank. Just think of the stress you would have, wondering when something that was going to go wrong that you couldn't solve. And so that's what we do. At the end of the day, yes, we build buildings, yes, we offer services, but what we do is we help those individuals and families who have fallen through that crack, or we help them not fall through that crack, but it takes money. It takes a lot of capital. We're about to break ground on $90 million in new construction within the next couple of months, and my breath is just held that we will get all of those gaps closed.
That's amazing. Takes a lot of faith and courage to do something like that, for sure. So, Kirsten, what has been your greatest obstacle or challenge?
Well, now I'm wondering how many women here in the audience work in a male-dominated industry. Yeah. Because both of you said that it wasn't your major challenge, but I also work in a male-dominated industry. It's also not my major challenge to overcome, but I think we probably could have talked about that too at the luncheon. Mine's a bit more mundane, I guess, than the challenges that you guys have just mentioned, but I think it is basically at every position I've held, and it's the politics that you encounter at work. Politics, if you look up that definition, really is just about how you make decisions as a group. So politics aren't bad, but people obviously can use those in negative ways, and it's hard if you are a service type person where you just want to serve the organization and you just want to come in and do a good job, when there are other people who come in and they've got their own selfish ambitions. Maybe those aren't super aligned with the organization's ambitions themselves. And you have to navigate that, and that happens in every job, and you have to figure out how you're going to overcome that. And so I think the way I've been able to do that in my jobs is to have a good network, which I think is important. It's part of what we're trying to do here, is establish a network, have people that you can trust and go to, make sure that you're connected with mentors and things like that where you can check in and get advice, make sure that you're targeting the right next steps and figuring out how to maneuver around some of those challenges that can hold you back in your career and hold you back from serving your organization.
Absolutely.
I think it's very interesting that you bring that up, because politics is for sure a challenge for us all, and we deal with a lot of government agencies. So you talk about politics, the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, the City of Houston, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and on and on. And there are layers that are political that underlie much of what we all do, maybe not as closely aligned as what we do. And I do think I would say it a little bit different than mentors. I would say long-term relationships. There are people that we work with effectively today that I've been working with for 20 years or more. And to maintain those relationships, you never know when that relationship may need help from you, or you may need help from them.
So good. So I think you're hearing a theme here: relationships, relationships, relationships. And Joy is so right. Everything always comes back full circle in so many ways. So I know that, and I know the three of you can look out in the audience, and it's so awesome to be up here and on the stage and see your faces. But as y'all can see, there's a lot of young people that have continued, coming to these events. And so I know that they've really enjoyed hearing from our keynote speakers, and would love to hear from each of you. What advice, if you had to pick 1, 2, 3 pieces of advice that you would give, honestly, not just to the younger generation or the up-and-coming female leaders, but to really any of these amazing people who are sitting out in our audience today. And so I'm going to open it up. Whoever wants to jump in first and take on that question,
Mix
you're
up the
more
order.
than welcome.
Come down this way. In my last job, there was a very interesting VP of Human Resources who, if you didn't know what her job was and you just met her at an event like this, you would not have guessed that she was a VP of Human Resources. She was quirky and just sort of out there and funny and just full of personality. And she taught us all that you can be who you are and still be successful. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to pretend to be anybody else. Who you are is valuable. And bringing your full self to work is meaningful to somebody else. So I think that's the first thing that I would give to anybody is, whoever you are, that's meaningful. Somebody needs that. There is an organization that needs exactly who you are. So be that. Bring that.
I would say that I'll take myself back to when I was really young and even to high school, and I just assumed that throughout my life the people that I would go to school with and work with would be like me. They would have grown up rather the same way I grew up, and we would all have the same baseline and the same values, and I think we can think that when we're young and life is insular. And what I've learned over the years is nothing could be further from the truth, and that you never know the path the people you work with have followed. You just don't know what has happened to them. I don't mean what they've done. I mean what's happened to them. And so every day I try to remember that. I hope they remember that about me, so that some of my failings might be overlooked a bit when I react in a way that isn't the most appealing. And other than that, being mindful of the people we work with, I think persistence. Just don't give up.
That was excellent. Joy is so just, I'm like, how do I learn how to talk like Joy?
I know, we're sitting, Brittany and I are sitting here going, how is she so eloquent and put together? Like,
so great.
I don't think that's you and me, right?
It's not, and it's funny. It's what a lot of my executive coaches are trying to kind of tweak. So Kristen, I appreciate what you said so much. I grew up, like I said, on a small farm in South Louisiana, and my dad worked 7 and 7 offshore, and ended up losing his career in a helicopter crash, and he survived. But we had a tough life. We didn't know it because we just thought where we grew up and how we grew up was normal, and we lived off the land. And then I moved to Houston, Texas, right? And you're like, whoa, what is going on over here? Everything from different cultures in my Catholic church to, now working in a male-dominant industry where I'll never forget, I asked my boss, I was 24, and I said, how do I become the CEO of the company? And he said, and I'll never forget it, he said, hold your horses, young lady. Like, you have a lot to learn, just hold your horses. And I'll never forget telling my dad that. And I had moved from inspection coordination to sales, and no one was buying anything from me yet. And I called my dad and I said, Dad, Craig told me I have to hold my horses. He didn't answer my question. He didn't tell me how I was going to become the CEO, and no one's buying anything from me. What do I do? I mean, I was, crying in the car, going to Starbucks. And he said, exactly what I told you when you wanted to quit the basketball team your senior year. I played basketball my whole life. I was always second string, okay? I wasn't that good. But it taught me a lot of things, right? And my dad would not let me quit. You made the commitment, you follow through with your commitment, right? And so he said, I want you to take the same and apply it. Do not quit, do not give up. Someone's going to buy something from you eventually. And not 3 weeks later, I sold like a $7 million project to Murphy Oil, and my career really exploded as a young female in oil and gas. So I'm piggybacking off of, one, a lot of times, even some of our mentors or executive coaches want to tweak a lot about who you really are, right? Whether it's, for me, it's the big personality, and I'm not as, I'm a little rough around the edges, Joy. And so I'm constantly working on those things. But overall, your true mentors and the people who love you the most, which is my team, my friends, my family, they tell you, don't ever lose that authenticity. Don't ever lose who you really are at the core. You may not be for everybody, and that's okay, right? We can trim a little fat off the edges, and we can definitely learn and grow, and we can respond in certain ways and know our audience, right? But never lose your authenticity and never give up. And lastly, like I mentioned, I asked my team that day in our living room, I said, I need to know who can run these events during a global pandemic. Who can do it? And I understand and I respect those who cannot, and I will help you find your next job. I will be your biggest advocate, but right now, I need to know who can. And I said, you have 24 hours because we have to figure out how to safely host these events. And it didn't take 24 hours. Everybody raised their hands and said, I'm in. We're in. And together, we continued the work of Sky High for Kids. So just a few little piggybacks off of don't give up and be who you are.
Starbucks when you're crying.
Do you have anything to add to it? No? So, those are real good. Yeah, I think we're cut from the same cloth, like our personalities. So, yeah, and finally I got old enough, which, is this how you feel, Joy? Like you finally kind of arrive at a place where you're like, I just have to be who I am, not aspire to be somebody else. That there's pretty amazing stuff in each one of us, and God has really created us just so uniquely for such a time as this. So I just really appreciate each one of y'all's questions. So I know this is always a question that is given to a keynote speaker. And so, of course, it's on the panelist conversation is, of course, there's so many women out here in the room. How have you, or do you continue to balance? And of course, we always hear too, work-life balance, which I think many of us now believe, like there's really no such a thing. So can we really stop talking about work-life balance? So see, I'm telling you, like no, doesn't exist. So how have you managed your time commitments of what you've given throughout your career in your organizations? How have you just maneuvered through your personal life, your work life? How have you managed all of that? What is your secrets? I know all of y'all got some secret sauce in there of advice that you want to share with this group. So
I think Brittany and I are going poorly. That's how we manage. And I say that half jokingly, but I think everybody in this audience, and if you, maybe I'm just projecting, we put a lot on ourselves, and we think, well, I'm not doing it as well as the next person. There's this person over here is doing it so much better than I am, and that woman is over there thinking I'm not doing it well either. So there's probably no woman that really thinks I've got it down, I've got it all figured out. Here's my book, because if you do, then you're going to be a millionaire. I work 7 days a week for the most part, not like full time all 7 days a week, but again, my team's here, they'll tell you I do work a lot. I travel sometimes for work, and so I just try to be when I have those moments with my kids and with my family, I try to be very present in those moments, not juggling the phone and the laptop and things like that. I'm sitting there, I'm trying to pay attention to them, I'm carving out time and activities to do with them because it's quality, not quantity. I will put in a plug for a book, though, if anybody's a reader and wants to go read I think a good book about this. It's called I Know How She Does It by Laura Vanderkam. And it's about how all these very successful women do juggle their time, and you can start to see that it's just like I described. It's not necessarily about, I only work 8 to 5 and I'm there for getting the kids off the bus or things like that. It is about finding those moments of connection and just how you interweave that into your life.
That's excellent. There is so much pressure, right? I have a 8-week-old that I just left, and my
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You.
My little Stevie James. I'm 38 and just had my first baby, my miracle baby. She's our only IVF embryo, so true miracle. And I'll never forget having a little bit of fear going into IVF and even just going into starting a family because, like Kirsten and I'm sure like Joy, I'm a workaholic. I had to survive and do a lot on my own growing up, and especially financially. I pay my mom's car note still to this day. I don't advise doing that, by the way. Don't take that advice. So I work a lot, and I love to work, and I love to inspire and impact people. But the reality is we have a lot of pressure, especially as women, right? We're supposed to carry it all. And my teammate, Grace, just gave me a book, and it says, you don't have to carry it all. And it's this woman on the cover, and she has her laptop in her purse, she has the soccer cleats, she has the earpads in, and so I haven't started it yet, but I'll tell you all about it. Going in with the fear of how am I going to continue my role as CEO at Sky High for Kids, travel around the country, raise this money, manage a team, keep a team together, all the things that come with it, and with staying a marriage, okay, because that's step one. It's not easy, especially being a little bit more of a very ambitious woman. okay, in a relationship? Then second, how am I going to raise my daughter and be present and there for her in the big moments? Am I going to be in Midland, Texas, pitching, a $100,000 ask for Sky High when she's at her softball game or dance recital? And so there's a lot of pressure on us to be able to do it all and carry it all. And the reality is, in the last 8 weeks, I'm going to get emotional, I've learned that we don't have to. I almost didn't have children and start a family because I thought that I had to work all the time and that I wouldn't be able to be there for the next family or for my employees or for the board member or for the donor, right? That I wouldn't be able to be there. So how am I going to do both? And our coach and even my team, I'm looking at Christina, I'm looking at Taylor, Jesse, so many people that are surrounded, in my life that said, it's okay to not do it all. It's okay. Get your calendar. I love calendars. I still write it all down in a paper calendar. I use the day planner, that's what it's called. And I write it down, and now I'm just penciling in time, and I'm saying the word no. I'm saying no, which is so hard for me. It's so hard. But I have to say no, or I'm not going to be there for my daughter or my husband or my family and even my friends. And so I want to tell y'all, as women, that we're expected to do it all and be everything. It's okay if we're not, and it's okay to say no.
I'm just going to add to that. We make that expectation ourselves. There's nobody else that expects it of you. So give yourself a break.
I like it, Kirsten. Give yourself a break. Joy. Now let's go. Let's hear from the master.
I think the pandemic changed a good bit, and some of it for the better and some of it not. For example, the shoes that I have on, I put on in the car out there, and when I get back to my car, I'll take them off and put my flats back on. I don't know how many of you have another pair of shoes with you today. And those sweatpants that were talked about earlier, I do think were more casual than we were, or at least on more days. And one of the things that's changed is that work and the rest of one's life have blended. Mine was already blended, but I think across the country there's been more of a blend since the pandemic, because there's hybrid work, sometime working from home and sometime at the office. And the good part about working from home is that you can put a load of laundry in while you're also taking a second or two break to go to the laundry room and back to your computer, and you can turn your camera off on a Zoom, and heaven only knows what those people are doing. His camera is off, whether they're paying any attention to you at all. It's really dangerous when you see someone whose camera and microphone is muted. They may not even be in the room any longer. It's really changed a great deal, but it has offered some flexibility. But on the other side, you have to make that up. If you ran an errand or got your hair cut during the middle of the week where you might not have done that before, now you're working at night and on the weekend. And I don't have an answer to that, and I don't think there is one. I think it's simply to be mindful every day. If I take a business trip somewhere interesting, I try to tack on a day or two to do some sightseeing and museum going. I was on business in Toronto recently, and I took a couple of days to go to a museum there and to go to Niagara Falls from the Canadian side, which is supposedly the most interesting, and I would say that that's true. So I think just getting some little times, day by day, making a sweeping plan is likely not to succeed.
I love that, Joy. And some of the things that we've done at Sky High, and it stemmed from the pandemic, definitely, because I'm not saying that, we have to keep going. We have to work. We have to, we have to figure out how to do not all of it, but a lot of it, right? We started doing Fridays off. So we work Monday through Thursday really hard, and Fridays is our bonus day. Now, if you need to check emails and there's a fire, well, we have to attend to it, right? But we have Fridays off, and so it's a nice long weekend because we work 15 weekends a year hosting events. So we tried to incorporate some additional benefits for our team members, which for us are all female, except for one, our golden boy, Joe, who we love, and who's kicking butt and taking names and working with now 12 other women. So hats off to Joe. But now our team is entering the next chapter of life. Everyone's starting a family. We have 2 babies in the office now. We have 2 other, employees or team members pregnant. And so we're trying to make a little bit of room for us to be able to honor our commitments to St. Jude and Texas Children's and the families we serve, and also do the work that we signed up to do. So I think, like Joy said, figure out whatever works for you. I tell the girls, although, we have to follow some lines, some rules, we have to have a little bit of, discipline in here, and it can't just be carte blanche, but figure out kind of what works for you and do your job and trust your team's going to do it.
I think that's great, because I think there are a lot of people who work for bigger corporations here that may not have those same flexible rules, but you can advocate for yourself still. You figure out what works for you and make the case and say, hey, I'm going to be more productive if. I'm going to be more engaged if. But it starts with knowing what works for you and being able to speak up.
And then asking, right? So another book, Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, I read that like at 27 on a plane, and I was like, whoa, that's it, boys. I'm coming after you now because I'm sitting at that table every single time. But that's what she said. So many of us don't have the courage or the confidence to sit at the table or to speak up or to ask Craig, how do I become the CEO? And then really figure out how to become a CEO and not take the comment of slow down, you're too young, or, you're too inexperienced, but to flip it around and figure out and how to put the hard work in and get there. And so Lean In is a really good book to kind of piggyback off of your suggestion, Christian.
But you have to be careful, because when you lean in and get what you ask for, you may wish you had time to lie down.
Joy's right on that too. I know. What do we do?
Oh my gosh, that's so good. That's like so my story. Like literally, I never really had I had a lot of ambition and motivation, but really never wanted to be, leading Meador staffing services. I thought my dad, literally, he always told me, I'm going to live to be 120, which the man might actually do that. And so it's interesting, when I was actually promoted to president, every bad thing that could possibly happen within our 55-year history happened on my watch. I mean, global pandemic, a major computer crash that only our internal staff could know about. Nobody on the outside, I was like, nobody on the outside is going to know. And we got 5 days to pay hundreds, if not thousands, of temporary employees. So we got to keep it contained, keep it in here. So I'm having revelation going, oh my God, that's so good, Joy. Leaning in, and sometimes when you're wishing for things, and everybody needs a dream, but be prepared for what's to come, and also know that, I go back to what I said earlier, you're called for such a time as this, and you really have to get rid of all that imposter syndrome, mumbo jumbo, comparison, and just know that I'm the one that's called to do this. Now, you do get in your car and go home and you start crying, saying, I don't know what to do. But I think that's where the brilliance and excellence comes out of, right? Just in those moments where you have to surrender. But it's like y'all talked about earlier, lead fearlessly and just know that you're an overcomer. And so I want to, what, Chad, what are you saying? Okay. I'm taking your lead. Okay. Yeah. So raise your hand if anybody has a question. And as we do that, I want to give each one of you an opportunity. I know y'all had talked about earlier, just mentors and people that really encouraged you and supported you. Do you have mentors in your career, or anybody that you would just want to honor or highlight that really helped you get to where you're at today, that really spoke into your life?
Has anybody watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary yet?
Yes.
No? Yes? Chad, you watched it?
Has.
Okay,
I watched it
listen.
last weekend.
Ladies, you have to watch this documentary. It's going to blow your mind. His vision, his drive, I mean, it's wild what he's accomplished, okay? Not on the moral side, though. I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed. It actually broke my heart. I cried. But what he said at the end was, someone said, oh, you're self-made, right? You're self-made. You came from Washington, you did all this, you're self-made. And he said, no, don't ever say that. I was surrounded by so many amazing people that helped me get where I am. I've been very fortunate to have some amazing mentors. My longest, Cornelius Dupree, who's an oil and gas tycoon who was, raised a lot like me and made it, if you will. But he was also surrounded by so many amazing people that helped push him both spiritually, both, personally, family-wise, and professionally. Dan, my team, Taylor Sass, so many amazing people. It's not just ever one, right? But I do encourage all of you at whatever stage you are in your life. It doesn't matter how old you are or where you are in your career or if you stay home and raise your children. I'll tell you one thing. I'm not going to do that because that's harder than working at your real job. But a mentor will help you in so many ways. They've gone through things that you haven't, and so their experiences will allow you to shape your own opinions and make your own decisions. You don't have to take every piece of advice that they give you and go apply it. It's just listening to their experiences, and when you have a big challenge, you have someone that's there as a rock and who's probably been through much more than maybe you have. And so I highly encourage having a mentor in your life.
I've never really understood what the word mentor means, frankly. I would encourage you to look for advisors. And that word resonates more with me than the word mentor does. And to look for advisors, more than one, where you're learning from one another. Because irrespective of the place you may be in your life and in your career, there are things you know that other people don't know and that you have to give. So I would encourage you to look for an exchange.
I was really just going to tag on to that. I think it's all about the relationships, and I think we said that earlier, right? So I've had a formal mentor relationship in my career, and it was fine, but I wouldn't say that that's what propelled me to anything. I really think it was about the relationships that I've generated, and I've been able to lean on them, and sometimes they've leaned on me. And maybe sometimes there's been more of a balance one way versus the other. But even if it was a boss that I was going to, sometimes they've still come to me for advice and things. If you have those relationships, it becomes very natural, and it becomes very supportive, and then it's amazing how empowering it can feel. But going back to your point about the experience, I think of those movies that you'll see where there's the young people sitting around listening to the old people and they're talking about love. It's really the same way about work. People that have been through things before and they've had that experience and they've put in the years of work, they've seen things, and maybe it doesn't exactly apply to what you've got going on, but it allows you, just like you said, really to shape your own plan of attack and to be able to ask questions and figure out what worked for them, what didn't work. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Go and lean on that experience and be able to short circuit your learning.
Yeah. So good. Before you tap, so Chad, do you have a question?
Yeah, we have a question here.
Howdy, you roar your T's with Next Level Urgent Care. And I have a two-part question. What is the motto or mantra that you say to yourself in the morning to get your day going? And what are the words of self-actualization that you tell yourself at night before you go to bed?
So for me, it's the answer is always no unless you ask. So I tell myself that almost every single day. It ignites a fire in me and some self-confidence to go out there and just do it, right? Because there's so many things that can stop us from just starting the day. So it's the answer is always no unless you ask. And then at night, that's my time for my prayers and really to just ask God, to help me continue to be a good wife, to be a good mother, and to be, a good leader. And so yeah, that's normally my routine. A little fire in the morning and a little God and Jesus at night. What about you, Joy?
Well, I have a bit of a different routine. In the morning, I just try to stay calm. I try.
We couldn't be more different,
I
Joy.
just try to breathe.
So, Joy, are you a morning person or an evening person?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Look, it's just, I'm one of these people, I'm like a child. It's like I never want to go to bed and I never want to get up. You know how kids are? I just never want to do either one of those things. It's really miserable every single day. It's been that way my entire life. There's just nothing to be done about it. So I do have to have a latte in the morning or I'm pretty unhappy, and I need to be calm. And in the evening, I tend to think about, because any problem you're trying to solve, it generally isn't just two people in the problem, it's generally a group, and I try to think about who's the person to call first, who has maybe a key that will help open the door to the problem that we're trying to solve together, and I try to kind of wend through the maze at that point, knowing that I won't feel like doing it in the morning, so I might as well do it now.
Joy, my team tells me I can't have many lattes.
It's not really an answer to the question, but I was going to say I'm very much a morning person. I wake up at 4 a.m. without an alarm clock. I just roll right out of bed. Sometimes it's 2 a.m. Actually, one of the mottos I do have, and my team will back me up on this, is they'll bring a problem to me, and I'm like, that's a problem for 4 a.m. Because I always have my great ideas at 4 a.m. and I solve the world's problems and I email it out, and I just think better in the morning. So I put it all off until 4 a.m.
That's so good. So we're going to wrap it up here, but I hope all of you will take the opportunity to give them a huge round of applause. And thank you so much, Brittany, Joy, and Kirsten. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm going to ask you guys just to stay put for a second. Okay. We've got a little gift for you, but I just wanted to thank everybody again for coming. This was a great panel, don't you think? I don't know about y'all, but I got a lot of takeaways, a lot of them. One is don't be afraid to say no. I got a couple books. What is it? Lean In, and I don't know how she does it. I know how she does it. Okay, so there's 2 and 3. Man, y'all were awesome. You told me everything I needed to be reminded of today. Well, I'm going to ask a couple of folks to come up. We're going to do speaker gifts really quickly. So ladies, if y'all want to come up and give your gifts and introduce yourself, and then don't go away because we do have door prizes. So just hang tight.
Hi, I'm Maricela Ramirez, and events and membership coordinator. I'm going blank up here for Economic Alliance, and thank you all for joining us today. And I have
Before you do this, Joe, did you cut me? Oh, no, you didn't. I just want each of y'all to give Maricela a huge round of applause for everything that she does for Economic Alliance. And we just bless you and honor you, Maricela, and are thankful that you are one of our advisors.
Oh.
I know you advise a lot of
Thank
people.
you. I can't do it alone. We got the committee, staff. Man, the staff, I can't do any of this alone. Even our president and our vice president, they helped at registration today. So the staff is amazing, and they back me up, and all of our committee as well. I'm so very, very thankful for that. But I have a gift for our moderator, Melinda.
Did you pick it out yourself?
Much. I had a little help.
Oh, thank you. You know I don't expect anything, but thank you so much.
I don't like microphones. My name is Lindsay Maney. I am Director of Business Development for BE&K. I'm so excited to be giving a gift to my friend, Brittany. I can't say enough about her and for Sky High for Kids, and I'm so glad you were here today.
Thank you so much. Honored. Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
My name is Nellie Bektashi. I'm with Houston Methodist Hospital. I'm so excited to have Kirsten here today, and such a wonderful panel, and we have a wonderful partnership with them, so it's been wonderful to have them here finally at one of our events. And my amazing Houston Methodist Clear Lake C-level and directors are down there too, so it's been awesome. I know Axiom Space team is here as well, so thank you for coming. And Kirsten, again, thank you so much. We learned so much. So here you go.
And everybody knows who I am, Wendy Gormley with Live Oak Bank. And last but not least, I wanted to tell Miss Joy Horak, thank you so much for speaking with us today. And I'm just going to say, we think we're related. My main name is Horak. We just can't figure out how to make it work. But I'm just going to start telling people she's my cousin. Okay. Thank you so much again, ladies. If you guys want to have a seat, we're just going to go ahead and close out. We've got a few door prizes for you. And I want to remind everybody that please take a look at the QR codes because we're going to be keeping the Kendra Scott shop open. Don't forget to donate to the sanctuary. And keep a lookout for our October 18th luncheons coming up. We have Commissioner Leslie Briones going to be the speaker. I think it's going to be a fabulous event. And let's see, where is Chrissy? Are you doing door prizes? Oh, I'm doing the door prize. Oh, do we have a slide?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
It's coming.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, guys, we have a slide up here letting everyone know who won. Let's see, Reiner Engineering has a prize. Noelle Schultz is the winner. Royal Harbor Partners Wealth Management, Kirsten Whittingham. Oh, 2 prizes today. Lucky girl. JDC Commercials also sponsored a door prize. Maria Molina is the winner. Meador Staffing sponsored a door prize. Annette Myers, please come on up and get your prize. Lamont Brands, by the way, Lamont has a booth in the very back. They are veteran owned. I encourage everybody to go back there and at least drop your business card. Letty Sanchez, you are the winner. Next Level Urgent Care, Adeline Mendino Estrada, please come up and get your prize. And then last but not least, HCA Houston Healthcare sponsored a door prize, Miss Mirna Ruiz.
And those door prizes, Maricella's got those door prizes right up here at a table. So as soon as we get through, y'all come up here and grab your door prizes. Is that right, Maricela? Okay, good deal. Good deal. All right, final comments from the chair before I make a few.
I had a heck of a day, guys. I was so impressed with that panel. I loved all the takeaways they had. Food was amazing. Thank you to Ernie's Catering. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Please keep a lookout for our next event, October 18th. Please follow us on social media. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. We're on the website. Is there anything else I'm missing?
I think that's it.
Okay, I think we covered it. You got anything else?
All right, I will. I have to close with a quick who are we? So I think a lot of y'all understand who the Economic Alliance is. We're a regional economic development corporation. Our mission is pretty straightforward. They can keep it simple because there's a guy in charge right now and I can't make complicated, doesn't work for me. So our mission is to grow and market a vibrant regional economy. That means adding capital investment and creating jobs in this region. We do that a lot of different ways, but in order to be competitive in that, we work really hard in the public policy sector, both at the state and the federal level. You heard from our workforce development director, Alicia Harris. Patty Bell, our workforce development staff director, is back here in the back as well. We have to create the workforce that supports all these jobs that we have in this region. We have to have fantastic or competitive infrastructure to move product and people through this region, whether it's on the road, on the rail, in the pipe, or on the water. So we work really hard in that. We also work really hard with our local communities to create a quality of life. We've got a grant program where we push money back out into projects in our communities that support that. And like this event, we have access to a lot of great people and a lot of great information, and we turn that information back around and put it in front of you in the form of our events to provide insight and thought leadership direction, trends, everything that's going on in this region's economy. We want to put that information in front of you so you can make good decisions for your own businesses and for your personal lives as well. So that's who we are. Those events that I talked about, 11 different events, almost 4,000 people during the year. We also push information out through our social media, and we have our own podcast, which is on, I think, season 7 now. Is that right, Mandy? So Mandy, raise your hand. Mandy is our marketing coordinator. She does our newsletter, which is a great opportunity for our members to brag about what's going on and to hear insight. Our podcast is fantastic. I know Jason Lee is here, one of our podcast hosts. Jason, where are you? Did he have to leave? I don't see him right now, but listen to that podcast because you'll hear from stakeholders from the region about what's going on. So a lot of great things going on. And as Wendy said, if you're a door prize winner, come up here. With that, thank you all very much. You saw the slide for our next event. Commissioner Leslie Briones from Harris County is our featured speaker, and that happens in October. Is that right? October 18th. October 18th. So if you were here today, look at there. She's on it. So if you're here today, be sure and get your seats because that one's definitely going to sell out as well. So thank you very much. Thank you, Wendy, to the committee and to the staff. Thank you all very much for being here today. Thank you all.
Thank you for coming.